It's Black History Month, and I'm proud to present a three-part interview with living legend Katrina Adams. In part one, Katrina shares her experiences growing up, playing junior tennis, college tennis, and competing on the WTA Tour. Katrina, it's great to be with you today to celebrate Black History Month. You and I go way back to the 90s. Just think about it. That was during the last century. But this is the first time we're sitting down to discuss your personal perspective on having been a Black female tennis professional, following in the footsteps of Althea Gibson, albeit nearly 30 years after Althea's breakthrough as the first Black player to win a Grand Slam championship. Can you give everyone a brief history of how you were introduced to tennis, what it was like being a Black player in the Midwest, and what you achieved as a junior that resulted in you attending one of the best universities in the United States? That would be your alma mater, Northwestern, and playing number one.
Hey, Sarah, thanks for having me. That's a mouthful. So, it's a pleasure to be here and to be able to speak about tennis from a Black female's perspective. I was very lucky to get into this sport. I started at the age of 6 in a public park in Chicago, and it was a program that was hosted by the Martin Luther King Boys Club. It wasn't even the Boys and Girls Club then. It was with my 2 older brothers that I trailed and followed there and was able to join the program after a couple of weeks. I was too young to start. It was from 9 to 18-year-olds, and I was only 6. So my persistence got me in the program of really challenging the coaches and my parents. And after that, it was history. But it's interesting because I never saw the sport in the beginning as anything other than Black. I wasn't looking at it as Black or white, but my initial program was Black with Black coaches. My coach that took me under his wing during the school year was Black. I played at another Black program during the winter on the weekends. My following summer, I was in another program, which was all Black. And it really wasn't until I started playing our USTA CDTA tournaments or Chicago District Tennis Association tournaments where I would show up, and then I was the only Black, and I was like, hey, where is everybody? I don't see anybody, but it was fine. I mean, for me, it was about competing. I was having fun. I didn't view people as Black and white. I wasn't raised in that environment for my parents to view anybody differently. And so, yeah, I guess it was challenging throughout my junior career and being mostly the only Black at most tournaments, sometimes a couple. And then obviously at Northwestern University, I was the only Black on my team. But it was something as you get older and you start to go through it, you're used to it, and you don't expect, I guess you almost don't expect for it to be different. So that was pretty much my experience before I got into the pros.
So now let's look at your next great giant leap of faith, your commitment to the WTA Tour that earned you a WTA World Top 10 doubles ranking. Tell us about your experience, along with your contemporaries, Zina Garrison and Lori McNeil, and eventually welcoming Venus and Serena to the team. This is where I came into your life during the 10 years that all of you supported the IGA Tennis Classic, right over my shoulder, still the most important project I've ever been involved in, and where I recognized you were destined to become a leader.
Well, Sarah, I mean, I'm very grateful to have played on the WTA Tour for 12 years. It was as a young player, it's obviously a dream and a goal to be that professional. And I went out and I was very lucky. Zina Garrison was on the tour at the time and took me under my wing as a mentor, if you will. I traveled with her. I ended up playing doubles with her. I shared her coach. And so it was a very easy transition for me to go onto the tour, to be able to understand the ropes, if you will. But growing up, I knew that Althea Gibson was the first one to break the color barrier for women's tennis at the US Nationals. And knowing what her success was phenomenal. But there were other players along the way, Leslie Allen, Renee Blount, Kim Sands, and a few others that had played on the tour that I got to see at the US Open here and there as a junior. And then being able to come out and actually play on the tour with Zina and Lori. I knew them from ATA Nationals. I watched them over the years. I watched them progress. I watched Zina become the #1 junior in the world in 1981. And so for me to be able to be out there with them and practicing and traveling was almost a dream, and an easy transition, I think, for me. Because once I got on the tour, I'm very independent. I'm very confident in my own abilities. Made quick friends with so many other people around the world. And I immediately got involved in the WTA Players Association in my second year because I wanted to learn more about the tour and how I could be of assistance and add value.